You may not be aware that Douglas Laing and Company produce 6 remarkable regional malts. We've got the Galdrons from Campbelltown, the Epicurean from the Lowlands, Timorous Beastie from the Highlands, Scallywag, Speyside. This is Rock Island, carrying what we believe to be the best of the island distilleries, beyond which we have Big Peat in a moment. And I think it's largely due to our blending background that we can actually produce fatted malts from all these different regions. It's a real pleasure for us to be able to do so. So, talking of the blending skills that my father naturally developed and which I slowly but surely picked up at the hands of experts, blending is second nature to the company. It's our background, it's our heritage. But in terms of these RRMs, what we call modestly the remarkable regional malts, we take malts, 100% malts, purely from the region that's highlighted on the brand. This Timorous Beastie is an all Highlander. So we're carrying malts in here such as Glengarry, Glengoyne, Blair Athol, amongst others. And I'm just going to let it chambre for a little while. It's indicative of the quality that these malts bring. There's an encapsulation of the whole region in one glass, and it's there and apparent on the nose, on the palate, and on the finish. I personally prefer to call this a vatted malt. It's an old-fashioned terminology, but vatted malts were the terminology that my father would have used and recognised. Today we've got to use the terminology blended malt or a blend of malts, and it just seems a little bit misleading to use the word blend in any description of whisky, as it tends to allow people to think also of grains. But this range, 100% malt, fabulously honeycomb nose, some gristy, juicy barley, strangely enough, maybe a little hint of licorice there. It's just so sweet. There's raisins and nutmeg. There's almost a hot toddy effect. Butterscotch, some really nice, sweet, dulcet, aromatic flavours going on there, and totally idiosyncratic of those Highland malts, all combining to make a real combo, which when we launched the non-aged version, our friends in Germany wondered if we were actually allowed to put sugar into the whisky. Of course we're not, but all these Highlanders seem to combine very nicely just to create a lovely, sweet, deep, wonderful, might even be a mixing whisky. 18 years of age. This bottle is one of 5,600, bottled at 46.8%. If you get it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. My father, FDL, was often told that he had a remarkable similarity to the actor, the Hollywood actor William Powell, probably most famous for his roles as the Thin Man. His robberies, bank capers and murders were often solved with the help of a little fox terrier called Asta. And so it was that in 1954, I still remember the day fondly. I was 4 years old playing in the garden, and my father brought back our first fox terrier. That was Frisky. Goodness, we're now on number 8, who is Cooper. But this lovely wee dog was probably our favourite. This was Binks, who had dental problems for real. And as you'll see, if you look closely at the label and the tube wrap, only one tooth at the front. So that's always the giveaway. Binks did not wear a monocle, but we thought that was very appropriate Asta style 1930s, 1940s cocktail dog. And so what we have here is an all Speyside vatting. To put it a little bit more succinctly, not only all Speyside, but all 100% sherry, Oloroso and PX Pedro Jimenez casks. Within any and all of our Scallywag Speyside bottlings, we carry malts such as Altmore, Craigellachie, Glenrothes, Mortlach, Macallan, amongst many others. But all these in our 10-year-old version, bottled at 46% unchill filtered, are quite specifically from sherry casks. So, I don't need to work very hard to pick up the macerated red fruit, the raisins, a bit of home baking there, loads of spices and crushed sugar, and that sweet barley zestiness on the nose. That is wonderful. There's orange zest, more crushed sugar, a lovely gristiness. A suggestion of tobacco. I don't smoke, but the suggestion of tobacco is quite interesting. Incredibly sweet, wonderfully soft. Spices like nutmeg and ginger, cinnamon going on there. The finish is a little bit drier. Some remarkable malty, barley, gristy flavours naturally coming through beyond just that sherry-based fruitiness and spice. A remarkable and lovely little tribute to Binks, the fox terrier, who appears here. If you get a chance to try it, I'm sure you will enjoy it. I certainly am. Cheers. This particular number is our Rock Island 21 years old, bottled at 46.8%. Quite special, but from our point of view, we believe this Rock Island and the non-aged version is the progression from the Speysider on its way to something absolutely peated and phenolic in the shape of Big Peat. So this is a halfway house for those who are learning their way or finding the phenols and the iodine of 100% Isla a little too much, as we have softened and moderated things by the use of Arran, Jura, and one of the Orkney malts, plus a couple of others which we're not allowed to make mention of. But there's a lovely sweetness beyond the smoke and the pelagic maritime style that's on the nose. Yes, there's tar, but it's soft summer tar and nothing too obliterating. Oh, at 46.8%. I can just allow that to mouth coat. And it's coming in waves because there's the sweet barley, there's the element of caramel and toffee coming from some of the non-Islay distilleries, because not every island distillery is peated and phenolic. But there is cured meat, a barbecued meat style coming through. It's moderated by some lovely honey tones, and even running into the finish. Yes, there's smoke, but it's not full bonfire smoke. It's softened with maybe some greenery. There's an aromatic quality. Very interesting, very soft, very mature at 21-year-old, and a real subtle vatted malt for you to sip and enjoy over at least 35 or 40 minutes. No rush with this one whatsoever. And so I come now to my best friend from Islay, Big Peat. This is the Black Edition, part of a trilogy that was released, 27 years of age, bottled at 48.3%. Normally, Big Peat is seen wearing a yellow polo neck. Today, just as a little tribute to him, I will wear the yellow, as he's all in black today. Very slimming, of course, to the fuller figure when you wear black. Big Peat was conceived back in 2009. We had a small abundance of different Islay malt whiskies, and for a bit of fun, I asked our designers to put a head and shoulders together of a potential fisherman from Islay coming off his fishing boat. The wind would be blowing, it would blow his beard from left to right, and the designer pretty well immediately drew Big Peat, except for the fact that he had a benign smile on his face. And I asked him to correct that, please, because he was just about to come off the boat. He was going to go back to his wife, and he was late, and he knew she would be in a very bad mood, for which reason he was going to take a shot of something big from Islay, which would immediately turn his face inside out. So the designer rubbed out the smile and applied Big Peat's archetypal grimace. Now I have to say, back in 2009, we had to give away a lot of cases free to importers who did not believe for 1 minute that we could sell a Scotch whisky, and a serious Scotch whisky at that, with a comic figure on the label. That has now been proven massively wrong. I think we touched on a slightly rebellious style of packaging, which appealed to a lot of individualists out there. I know that we regularly are asked to send artwork for Big Peat's handsome face out to tattooists around the world, so that Big Peat's face is on big brawny arms, on chests, on legs. He appears everywhere around the world, not only in a glass, but as a tattoo. This 27-year-old is somewhat softer than the non-age version because there's a maturity that these extra 20 or so years bring. It's very nice, it's very round, aromatic. Yes, there's smoke, there's chimney soot, and there's bonfire ash there. There's seaweed and iodine, creosoted beach huts lingering on the nose. And a charming but full-on peated and phenolic, absolutely Isla in style sort of palette. You know you're on the island of Isla. There's the peat, there's the phenols, there's some really sweet barley in amongst it as well. Maybe some of the Keilila is bringing an element of honey and sweetness because there's Keilila in here as well. Some very attractive archetypal Isla flavours going on. There on into the finish. Definitely one just to be savoured and enjoyed. But the finish brings back some wonderful smoke, ashiness, seaweed again. There's a whole reversion from the nose into the finish. Redolent with maritime quality. Wonderfully round, incredibly enjoyable, and definitely my best friend. I hope one day he may be yours. All the best.